Hi, this is Joette, and tonight it's kind of a different topic for Balloon Coach than we normally have. Tonight we're going to talk about the grief cycle. And the typical grief cycle is often denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, and then moving on with your life. And the reason that I'm talking about this subject tonight is in March of 2020, the world, the way we know it in the event industry, kind of came to a halt. And in fact, I had a friend the other day that was talking about when the world's ended in March. And I'm like, but the world didn't end in March. It just changed. And so tonight I decided that it was time for me to go out and talk to our industry about this really important topic because I have this wonderful blessing of getting to spend a lot of time with balloon professionals and get to hear from them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so tonight I want to talk about this subject that's sometimes difficult for people because it involves feelings, it involves hurt and depression, and those are all things that need to be acknowledged as business owners. So I want to start with sharing a picture with you guys from a recent trip. I went to Jacksonville, Florida to be there for a friend in the balloon industry whose mother passed away. And it happened to be Labor Day weekend, which is a weekend that often people go away and spend some time on the beach. So it was one of those mixed things where I felt very blessed that I got to have time on the beach because it's one of my favorite places. For those of you who follow me, you know, I often love to show photos of the sunrise and my time on the beach. But it was also a really important time for me to be with somebody I cared about during a really tough time. And during that experience, I realized that while I was going to the celebration of life for this person's mother, is that, wow, you know what? I think it might be time for the balloon industry to have a funeral and to go through that grieving process of what used to be and go ahead and celebrate those wonderful memories and then go through the grieving process to then renew anew for our businesses and our lives. So that's kind of where this concept came up with for tonight. So this was my last day on the beach, the last day of summer. And when I woke up that morning, I thought it was going to be raining outside. I always peek out the curtain before I go out to the beach to see if it's raining. And it was kind of dark and it's kind of overcast. And it's like, oh, should I just go back into bed? Or do I think it's going to be another pretty sunrise? So I went ahead and I grabbed my shoes and I got dressed and I went to the beach. And I'm so glad I did because as I looked to the left, there were dark clouds and rain. But as I looked to the right, it was clear. And so as I waited, sunrise was a little bit later than usual because there were these clouds for the sun to get through. But I waited it out and it was a beautiful sunrise. And then I actually got to spend time on the beach that morning with my friends walking for a couple of hours. And it was wonderful to be able to spend that time on the beach before the rain came. And it kind of reminded me about life and the grief cycle, right? Is that we go through this kind of depressing time and when we look one direction and we focus on it, if we focus in just one area, we may only see the dark skies and we may only see the rain. Sometimes we forget to turn around and see that the sun is still shining. So that's kind of where my conversations kind of come from tonight. So for those of you who've not seen it before, the grief cycle starts with shock and denial. Many times when there is a death in the family or when something catastrophic happens, like the balloon industry just kind of stopping because we no longer can have large events and those things that we had on our calendar booked for a great busy season is totally gone. There's shock and denial. We just don't want to even admit that it's happening. The next step is anger. We have frustration, anxiety, we get irritable, there's shame, there's embarrassment sometimes. And then the third step is depression and detachment. Sometimes we're just overwhelmed by everything. We feel helpless, we have a lack of energy, and we just feel kind of lost. The fourth stage is dialogue and bargaining. It's that time where we reach out and sometimes just bargain, saying, man, don't let this person be gone. Don't let my business be gone. I'll do anything. Just let's not have this problem happen. There's also often a desire to tell the story, where we want to have a conversation and tell people about the person or the thing that we're grieving about. And then often during this stage 4, there is the struggle to find a meaning in life, because just things in our world have been turned upside down. Then step number 5 is acceptance, exploring the options for the future and coming up with a new plan of life being different because this person or thing is no longer a part of our life. And then number 6 that I really like in this cycle is returning to a meaningful life, where we get empowered, where we find security, where we increase our self-esteem, where we find meaning again, and we keep moving on. So for those of you who are on with me live tonight, I would love if in the chat, if you would share with me what stage you think you're currently at. And I don't have to say your name, and I won't say it out loud who you are, but I would love for you to share with me where you're at in this grieving process with your balloon business. Are you at stage 1 and still in shock and denial? Are you angry? Are you depressed and detached from things? Are you starting to have that dialogue and kind of bargaining for things? Are you having acceptance, or are you returning to a meaningful life? I would love for you to share that with me. And for those of you who watch this later as a replay, my email is joette@ballooncoach.com. And I'd love to hear from you and where you're at and how I can help you in this process. So one of the folks with us tonight is at that 3 and 4, that depression, and then starting to have that dialogue. We've got a couple of people there. I've got several people there. And one is saying that they have a little bit of anger tossed in there at times. Yeah, you've built for so long this amazing business, and then just things stop, and the things that you've built are no longer there. There's definitely a reason to feel anger and frustration and overwhelm. So the thing that I want to throw out to you guys is that you're normal. You're not alone in this experience, and that it is just a part of what we're going through right now. And I am not a mental health counselor. I used to work in mental health, and I used to be a case manager. So one thing that I've really learned over the last 5 years is that I'm a coach. And in my role as a coach, I help kick people to that next level, right? So when you get to level 6 and you're ready to be empowered and move on, that's where I really excel. At the same token, because of my background in social work, I'm also a really good listener, and I enjoy being there and supporting people. But I also tend to be a problem solver. So sometimes, rather than just listening to where you're at, I'm wanting to help solve that problem for you. So what I want to make sure I'm really clear at right now is, if you are a person who in the past has struggled with depression, or you're currently struggling with it now, and that you have really long bouts of feeling down and not wanting to get out of bed, if you find yourself crying, if you find yourself super overwhelmed and not being able to move on, I want you to reach out to someone. There is no shame in picking up the phone and making an appointment with a counselor. There's so many counseling services now available online due to everything that people are going through and the stress. Number 2, it's okay to tell your family or friends what you're going through. And if you don't have any of those support systems, you can always email me, joette@ballooncoach.com, and say, hey, Joette, I'm really struggling right now, and I don't know where to turn for help. And I will get you the information for the people who can support you during this time. So I want to make sure I'm super clear on this, that I am not a counselor, so I can't help with everything, but I can give you access to the people who can help you. But to understand that there's this process is really helpful, because a lot of times we just have these overwhelming feelings of depression and blah and anger and frustration. And sometimes we don't even know where it comes from because we don't realize what we've just been through. So I was looking at it and going, oh, wow, this started in March. So we are 6 months past this. It's time for us to really take a look at this and see if these emotions are holding us back from our full potential. So I'm so glad that you guys are listening to this and a part of it tonight. So one of the questions I have for those who are watching live is, are you at a point right now where you want to move on and you're not able to? Or are you like, you know what, I just want to stay where I'm at right now and process these things? So kind of let me know what you guys are thinking. The people who are on with me live tonight, are you at a point where you're wanting to move into that acceptance and returning to a meaningful life? Or are you kind of wanting to have some more time to super process where you're at, or a mix? Because I've actually seen that happen too. I've had many friends go through deep losses in their lives and go through a period of time with the anger and the depression and the bargaining. But at that same token, they're still working on those other steps, but it's okay to do both, to go forward and to process what's going on. So we've got someone that's ready to move on. All right, several people who are ready to move on. Awesome. You're in the right place then, and you're hanging out with the right person. So what I'm going to do is move to the sun side of the beach for my last morning at the beach, okay? I got to walk on that beach for a couple of hours with some amazing people that day. First, I walked by myself, and I also shared it out with people. And I just said, you know, enjoy this beautiful space. And I got to just listen to things that were going on with my friends. And sometimes we just need to go walk out in nature, whether it's in your backyard because you have a beautiful forest, or it might be finding a local park. It may drive a little bit to go to a waterway if you enjoy water. But what I want to encourage you in this time is, when you want to release that frustration, that anger, anything that's going on in your thoughts, for me, I have found being in nature is one of the best places for me to do that. And sometimes for me, it's just getting up in the morning for sunrise, to be able to be outside and hear the birds chirping, and to see the sun rise and remember that every day the sun is rising. And honestly, that is one of the things that helped me when I was getting depressed during this time away from the shop, was understanding that every morning that sun still rises. So great point. One of our listeners says, I wake up in the morning with a plan for the day, and then I lose all my energy and ambition to do anything. So sometimes what happens is, if we put too much on our schedule, it's easy to be overwhelmed. So what I would like you to do is, I want you to pick one thing that energizes you and gives you extra motivation. And so one thing I want to put out a word for is forgive. Is I want you to forgive yourself, because what happens in this situation sometimes is, when you've made a plan and then you don't follow through with it, we can get down on ourselves. We can reduce our own self-esteem by saying negative things about ourselves, and we can get really frustrated in the situation. So I want you to release any hurts that you have towards yourself or someone else right now, and forgive those people, right? And then I want you to embrace the people around you and ask for a hug if you need it, and ask for help and encouragement and support in this process. Let other people know what your plan is and what you're working on, so they can support and be on this journey with you. So the first thing I'm going to ask for all of you guys to do is write it down on a piece of paper, type it into your phone, or put it here on the screen with us tonight. Is I want you to dream big about your future. All right? It may look a little bit different right now, but still really cool things can happen. And I want you to think about what brings you joy. What puts a smile on your face? What makes you happy? Who are the people? What are the places, what are the activities, and who are the customers who bring you joy and make you happy. So I want to give you a moment to write those things down, because I know I can talk a lot. But right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you guys 60 seconds, and I want you to write it on a piece of paper or type it into your phone or type it up to us if there's something that you want to share. But I want you to write down what brings you joy. The people, the places, the activities, or the customers, are all of the above. And I'm going to be quiet for 60 seconds while you do that. Okay, so one of the persons put up that they like people. It brings them joy is being around people. That's great. So what I want you to think about is, who are the people that bring you joy? When you walk into the room and this person is there, it makes you smile. So for me, that's my husband, my daughter, being around my mom, being around my best friend, and being around my balloon family. I'm very blessed that since 2003, the last 17 years, I have made some amazing friends in the balloon industry who are now some of my best friends on the planet, and that I get to go through some amazing things, hardships and joys with them. Some of the places that I love are the beach, the pool, a park, and a road trip. Activities that I love is Zumba, sunrise, making jewelry, walking on the beach, making cards, and then spending time with other people who are like me, who are energized about being an entrepreneur. And then the customers that I love working with are people who enjoy celebrating others and people who are ready to step forward and take action. So when you think about stuff, what is it that you love, and what are the places that bring you joy? We've got people saying their daughters, grandchildren, and husband. Another person who loves their bed. So that can be a good thing and a bad thing. Sometimes when we love our bed, we might want to stay there all day and not get anything done. I know there's some hotels I've stayed at that I never wanted to leave their bed because it was so cozy and comfortable. Another person is their husband, their grandbabies, and fishing on the ocean. Oh, those all sound wonderful. So here's what I want you guys to do is, right now, I want you to make a plan for this week of how each day you can do one simple thing to include those people, places, or activities to help bring joy into your day. And it doesn't have to be extravagant. It might be that you're going to wake up early to have breakfast with your family, or it might be that you're going to set time in your schedule to have dinner around the table and have a conversation. It may be that you choose to go for a picnic at the park for lunchtime rather than staying at your desk. It might be that you choose to pick up the phone to talk to a friend that you haven't talked to in a while that you'd like to spend time with. Doesn't have to be complicated. It can be super easy. And it might be as simple as walking outside and just breathing fresh air for 5 minutes. But I want you to focus on what makes you happy and joyful and brings a smile to your face. Because here's the thing, we bring joy to our customers on a daily basis. That's what we do, is create memorable moments. But if we're ho-hum, if we're not happy, if we don't have a smile on our face when we're on the phone, writing our emails, or interacting face-to-face with our clients, they can tell that. And so I'm not telling you to fake it, but what I'm asking you to do is to create things in your life daily that bring you joy, so you can put that smile back on your face that then transcends the other people around you, ignites your customers, and brings your passion to life. So a tip for you to do, if you've not done this yet, is to create a vision of what you want for your future. It may have changed than it was a year ago. And write down it on a piece of paper, put it into a vision board if you want, put it on a journal. But think about what crafts you like to do. What hobbies do you want? Have you always wanted to learn how to paint or to skydive? What's something that you want to do? Who are the people you want to do the things with and spend time with? And then what words do you want to live your life by? Is it that you want more joy? Is it that you want travel? Is it that you want dance and music or art? Write those words down so that you see them daily. So now you can create those activities in your life. So I encourage people to create a vision board. And again, it doesn't have to be all artsy craftsy. It can be a simple piece of paper, cardstock, that you just write some words down and some activities that you want to do. Or you can go onto the computer and grab those photos and put them on. But the bottom line is that we get to choose if we see the sunrise each morning, or if we choose to sleep in and not see the sunrise. We can wake up with a mindset remembering that the sun rises each day, and just as the sun rises, we can explode with significance and bring joy to ourselves and the world by the actions that we choose to do. So I want to know, I know I've made it sound super simple, but that's on purpose. I didn't want to spend a lot of time making it tough, because I think sometimes when we overanalyze things, it gets really hard. So are there any questions or thoughts or ideas that you would like to share for those of you who are on live with me today? One person is sharing that painting has recently been a really cool calming activity for them. That's wonderful. I've seen a lot of people doing like paint parties online, where the company will send them the canvas and the paints and then walk them through the training online to like show them how to paint. I've seen other people take rocks and paint the rocks with positive sayings that they can then go leave around town for other people or give as a gift. So that's a wonderful activity. Find things that bring you joy and put them into your schedule to do them. For me, getting back to the fitness center has been great, because there's other human beings there and they're all on the journey for health. So just getting on the bike, using the Stairmaster, working out with my personal trainer, doing Zumba, for me, that's given me more ignited feeling to increase my strength during this time. And then also for me, putting healthy food into my body has helped me contain energy, maintain that energized spirit. And believe me, yes, there have been days that I've been depressed and eaten cookies and ice cream. But overall, throughout the last 6 months, I've been really purposeful of what I'm putting into my body so that I can fuel myself and have that energy and not be sluggish. So do more of what makes you happy, whether it's watching sunrises, sunsets, spending time watching a movie with somebody that you care about, spending time on your own in quiet, making music, making art, doing physical activity, and maybe you're not sure what that thing is that you like to do yet. What's super cool is on the internet, you can learn to do just about anything and take almost anything as an online class these days if you're not comfortable going out in your community. So I encourage you to use this time to explore new hobbies and activities that ignite you and make you feel good. We cannot control all that happens to us, but we have absolute control over how we respond to the changes in our lives, okay? So we cannot control all that happens to us, but we have absolute control over how we respond to the changes in our lives. And I know this has been a huge, big change. And so to remember that you have that control to change your mindset is super empowering. And then if you find yourself depressed and you find yourself tired and you find yourself unmotivated, then find a partner to walk the path with you. Let other people know where you're at to help lift you up. And it's okay to return to a meaningful life one step at a time. It doesn't have to be a marathon. All right. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that it's okay to return to a meaningful life one step at a time. And it doesn't have to be this huge grand parade. It can be one baby step at a time, like taking a shower and getting dressed in the morning rather than spending the entire day in your pajamas. It doesn't have to be rocket science. So again, if you find that you're in that cycle where you're stuck in depression and you can't get out of bed and you're not being able to function, or you just feel overwhelmed and that you need support, please reach out for help. And if you're not sure where to reach, email joette@ballooncoach.com and I'll be glad to give you that support. What's really encouraging for me is, although I know many people have suffered during this time with loss of income, I also know that there's a lot of people in the balloon industry who are actually thriving and having some of their best years ever, because instead of being focused on everything that was lost, they focused on the new opportunities that are out there. I've been a part of a lot of business seminars over the last 6 months with entrepreneurs around the world that do a variety of things, from yoga to leadership retreats. And I'm finding that many entrepreneurs right now are excelling because there's all these people wanting to learn new skills and try new things out. So I want to remind you, as a balloon professional, that every day someone's celebrating a birthday, a birth, getting engaged, milestones, reunions, anniversaries, grand openings are happening every single day. So the opportunities are out there. We just have to choose to open up our mind and see those opportunities and go after them one step at a time. I appreciate you spending some time with me today listening to this. And again, if there's anything I can do to be a support for you, please do not hesitate to reach out and let me know. You've got this one step at a time. Just take one step forward each day. It's not about perfection. It's about making progress daily to get focused back in on the things that bring you joy, and maybe rework some of the goals you originally had for 2020, but look at the opportunities that are right around the corner. Thank you guys so much for being here, and take one step forward.